Hello and welcome to 5-Minute Math. Today we are looking at the 6th grade concept of equations for area. This is standard 6.8C in the great state of Texas, and we are using item number 2 off the 2018 released STAAR test. If you have not done so already, please go ahead and take a moment to pause the video, work this problem out on your own, unpause it, and then we will look at our answers together. So we have a trapezoid here, and we need to find the equation to find A, the area. Now here's the thing, is we actually have this equation on our 6th grade formula chart. All we need to do is to be able to apply it correctly. And there's really only one trick with the area of a trapezoid. But in order to relate it to something that we know, let's first look at a rectangle. So if we were to find the area of a rectangle, that's pretty easy. We would do the length times the width. A equals LW. Trapezoid kind of looks like a rectangle, except you're going to have one, or in this case, two different slanted lines. Now, these slanted lines here are labeled with Y, and here's the trick with trapezoids. You ignore them. Doesn't really matter what they are. What you're going to get with a trapezoid is you want the length times the width. It's a four-sided shape, just like a rectangle. But they're going to be labeled base times height. And here's the thing. Our base, we actually have two different bases here. We've got one that's shorter. There's always going to be one that's shorter and one that's longer. So you don't really have one width like you do on this area of the rectangle here. You can just find one, and both bases, or both widths here, are exactly the same. One is shorter, one is longer. So what you do is you take the average of both of them. So you're going to take your 6 and your 10. Your 10 and your 6, you're going to add them up, 16. Then you're going to take the average, or what's in between both of those. So you can either divide by 2, or you can just take your 16, and you can multiply by 1/2. Kind of does the same thing. Dividing by 2, multiplying by 1/2, they both get you the same thing of 8. So even though we have a base of 10 and a base of 6, the average of both of those bases is going to be 8. So that's going to be kind of like our width. Now, the reason why I said we don't want to look at these y's is because they are slanted, and we don't really want anything to do with those. We need the height. And in this case, our height is going to kind of act like our length here on our rectangle, except that line doesn't exist. There is no line on the shape that is straight up and straight down. So what you're always going to find is this dotted little line right there. And that dotted line means it gives you a measurement that you might need, but it doesn't actually exist, because the actual trapezoid just looks like this. There's no line. But you know it's the height for two reasons. One, it's going to be dotted, which means it's imaginary. Second, it's going to have these little squares, which means it's perpendicular. So it is straight up and straight across from our bases. It is not going to be any diagonal line, slanted line. So look for that. That is going to be your height. So in this case, we're going to have h is our height. So if this were a rectangle, we would do 8 times h. Since we have a trapezoid, let's put all that together here. So we need to find our average of our bases here. So we have our 10 plus 6, and then we are going to either divide that by 2, or you can do it two different ways. 10 plus 6 multiplied by 1/2. They are both the exact same. Dividing by 2 is the same as multiplying by 1/2. And then we need to multiply all of that by your height. So that's going to be x. And on this case, I can just kind of stick it out here on the side. And you see, we actually have our answer here is G. I did 10 plus 6. They did 6 plus 10. Same difference. F is the closest, except look what they do. They give you the Y, which is not what you want. And then H and J don't make sense.